Okay, let's unpack this. We're taking a deep dive today into, well, a whole stack of material about unleashing the power of young people, about them making a difference right now.
That's right. And our sources for this exploration, they include excerpts from a really fantastic book. It's just packed with anecdotes, research, practical ideas on this very topic,
hmm
and also some really powerful images, these handwritten notes from kids. Quite moving, actually.
Yeah, you can feel them. So our mission really for this deep dive is to pull out the absolute core insights. What does all this tell us about how young people already have capability, have power?
Right. And how they can be, effective agents of change. And maybe the biggest question, what can we as caring adults actually do to genuinely nurture that, to support it?
And we'll explore different facets of this whole idea as
Mhm.
discussed in the sources, things like understanding power itself,
Yeah, and the crucial role of fairness, belonging, the importance of effort, responsibility.
agency, choice, how
Yeah,
passion fits in.
exactly. All those pieces.
And according to these sources, the starting point for, well, all of this is surprisingly simple.
Yeah.
It's just hearing young voices.
It truly is. The idea that sparked so much of this work, it began with asking kids a really simple question. I wish my teacher knew.
And the power of that question.
Yeah.
The sources show it's just immense. It wasn't just like a cute classroom activity.
No, not at all. It unlocked incredibly honest, sometimes pretty heartbreaking insights.
You see these examples, right? Like, I wish my teacher knew I don't have pencils at home to do my homework.
Or I wish my teacher knew how much I love my family. I mean, these are direct windows into a child's reality, things an adult might completely miss otherwise.
And here's where it gets really interesting, That simple act, just asking and sharing those notes, often just photos a teacher took. It went viral.
Yeah, it sparked a global movement. The
But
sources mentioned teachers from, Algeria to Japan, Germany,
yeah,
all starting to ask the same fundamental question.
and their voices and their students' voices, they got amplified. Major media outlets like the Today Show, Good Morning America, internationally too.
It just shows, I think, the hunger people have to understand young perspectives, to really hear them.
You immediately get why when you see one of the notes. This one just says, I wish that there was no more sicknesses.
Hmm. It's so universal, isn't it? Hopeful, but also deeply aware. Coming from a child, it just grounds you instantly in their world.
Which I think leads us naturally into how the sources discuss understanding power, because that's a concept, the material notes, that's often seen negatively.
Yeah, especially by people who've felt, powerless or disenfranchised by systems,
Jennifer Bacon is mentioned in the sources, talking about this, how people abused by systems often see power as this, like, fixed negative thing.
which can lead to what she calls learned powerlessness.
That's a powerful phrase, learned powerlessness.
Hmm.
Really makes you think.
It does. But the crucial insight the sources offer here is that if you can shift your perspective, if you can see power as neutral, not inherently good or bad, but just a force, almost like physics.
Like gravity, not good or bad, but you need to understand how it works to, say, build a bridge or fly a plane. You work with it.
Exactly. That's a great analogy. If power is neutral, then it's something you can understand, learn to navigate, even channel for positive change.
Right. It allows for collective power, as the source puts it, people working together. That's where real lasting change seems to happen.
The sources also bring in Seth Kreisberg, who points out that these relationships of domination can unfortunately play out even in schools, sometimes, under the guise of doing what's best for students.
So the material argues we first have to see these power dynamics to be able to challenge them.
Precisely. It makes me think of the analogy used about noticing arrays. Kids use calendars, see tiles on the floor, tables in the cafeteria.
They interact with these patterns all the time.
Right. But they might not formally notice them as arrays until you give them the language, the concept. Once they have the language, suddenly they see arrays everywhere.
And power structures are presented as similar. They're all around us.
Exactly. But once we have the language and awareness to identify them, suddenly you see them everywhere. And you can start to evaluate them, challenge them, ultimately change them, and, importantly, teach young people to do the same.
Like that note that says, I wish that everyone is treated equal. That's a direct observation of a power structure inequity and a wish to change it.
It's grappling with power right there from a young age.
So let's spark a conversation for you listening. What does it mean to you to have power? Is it something inherently good or bad? Or could it be, maybe, something else entirely?
It's such a foundational question, isn't it? And how a young person answers often reflects their own experiences. Someone who's felt silenced, they might naturally see power as negative.
But we can help them see it not just as power over others, but maybe power with others, rooted in relationships and collective action.
Absolutely. Power with. And speaking of relationships, that brings us beautifully to the power of belonging.
Yes. The sources highlight that this isn't just about being accepted, fitting in. It's also about having a sense of responsibility to the group.
That dual aspect is so key. Christopher Emdin's idea is referenced assigning every child a specific necessary responsibility in the classroom, like being the eraser of the board.
So it's about making them indispensable, cementing their belonging by giving them a valued contribution.
Exactly. The source shares this great personal story about assigning classroom roles, phone answerer, door holder, even a whittle master.
And the kids took genuine pride in these roles because they weren't just busy work, right? They were actually contributing to the smooth running of their community.
And what's fascinating here, too, is the discussion about the surprising power of friendship in the classroom.
Yeah, that caught my eye. It kind of goes against the old notion of friends being just a distraction.
Right. But the sources suggest friends can actually help kids focus, make them happier, build confidence. They can act as a kind of safety blanket.
That really challenges the traditional wisdom,
Mhm.
but it makes so much sense when you think about it. Feeling safe and connected, it frees up mental and emotional energy for learning.
Mhm. And the material also shares these really moving examples of students naturally supporting classmates with special needs.
Highlighting the incredible patience and care young people often show, almost instinctively.
Yes. Like the story of the student who saw the butterfly with bent wings.
Yeah.
And when the teacher moved to, remove it.
The students exclaim, "Miss
Aw.
X, what are you doing? Just because it's not perfect doesn't mean you should take it away."
Wow. That's just such a deep, innate understanding of acceptance and worth, isn't it?
It really is. And the research, it backs this up. This fundamental human need. Baumeister and Leary's work, referenced here, found people need just a few close relationships.
Even one or two strong bonds can make a world of difference to a person's well-being, their sense of security.
And Brene Brown's concept of authentic belonging is crucial here too. She says, true belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are.
That's it. The material argues that when a child feels truly seen and accepted for who they are, flaws and all, they feel the freedom to explore, to take risks, to step into their unique self. Belonging really is the bedrock.
So, sparking the conversation again. How do you know when you genuinely belong?
Mm.
And looking outward, how can you actively help others feel like they belong? It's about building those connections where everyone feels valued and responsible.
Which is tightly connected to fairness and restorative approaches, the idea of making things right.
Kids often grasp fairness initially as, well, everyone getting the same thing.
Right. Yeah, that's the common starting point. The sources use these relatable scenarios to move beyond that simple definition, like discussing dividing pizza between adults and a baby brother.
Or giving candy to boys versus girls. It pushes kids to think more critically about concepts like equity and justice, not just sameness.
And when things go wrong, when harm is done, the material strongly advocates for a restorative approach over purely punitive punishment.
Because the argument is that punishment alone, it isn't really effective in changing behavior long term. And it certainly doesn't empower the young person.
No, it doesn't. The
Right.
core of a restorative approach, as it's presented, is focused on repairing the harm, restoring the community bond that was broken.
So it shifts the internal monologue from "I am bad" to something more like "my actions had consequences and I have the capacity to make things right."
Exactly. The anecdote about the boy who stepped on the anthill during a hike, it's a perfect illustration.
Instead of just scolding him or giving him a punishment.
The teacher asked, how can we make this right? And this led him to research ants, learn about their importance, and then teach the other kids. He made amends through learning and contribution.
That's profoundly different from just sitting in timeout, isn't it?
Completely. And the story of Cameron Thompson is just incredibly powerful. After he bullied a boy with a doll, he felt remorse, he wanted to make things right.
And the key moment, the sources say, is he didn't just apologize. He asked his principal if he could start an anti-bullying club.
And then, get this, he asked the same boy he had bullied to help him start it.
Wow.
And that club grew to 200 members. Cameron went on to become this sought-after speaker on the topic. He turned his mistake into this powerful act of repairing harm and advocating for others.
That's true empowerment, isn't it? Understanding the impact of your actions and taking meaningful steps to make things right and prevent future harm.
Yeah. The takeaway here is helping young people understand their impact, giving them tools to make things right, and teaching them to practice and expect fairness for everyone.
So, sparking the conversation, what does fairness truly mean to you? What responses to wrongdoing, besides just punishment, do you think are most effective?
And how do we help young people move from thinking I should be able to the more expansive idea of all people should be able to? That shift is fundamental to developing empathy and a sense of justice.
Moving from justice outwards to how young people see themselves internally. Let's talk about confidence and effort and just how much our words, especially adult words, stick.
Oh, definitely. It's heartbreaking when a child internalizes those negative messages and says something like, I'm stupid.
And the sources are really clear on this. Staying silent when a child expresses that kind of self-doubt, when they say, I'm dumb, it can inadvertently confirm their feeling of inferiority.
Yeah, every one of those self-inflicted insults needs to be met with reassurance and a challenge.
Though sometimes it takes more than an adult, doesn't it? There's that moving anecdote about the student who crumpled up a tiny note someone had given them.
The one saying, you're smart.
Yes, and then insisted on tape to fix it. It shows that sometimes only the words of another child are truly believed. Peer validation can be incredibly powerful.
Absolutely. The sources also outline this developmental chain that's helpful to understand. Trust in the world and others leads to independence.
Which fosters initiative and self-control.
And only then can robust confidence truly develop. We need to help build those foundational blocks.
Professor Joseph Matthews shared his story about being told not to be too confident in school.
Yeah, and that criticism, he explained, it made him stop trying. It just demonstrates the lasting negative impact of thoughtless words, even if they weren't intended to wound deeply.
And the teacher's own story in the source about struggling with reading aloud years later because of a past comment from their teacher.
And how simply reframing or rethinking that comment changed everything for them. It's incredibly relatable. We all carry those echoes of past words, don't we?
We really do. It just hammers home the importance of encouragement, but encouragement rooted in acknowledging effort.
Yes. Anaya Ellick is highlighted. She won a national handwriting contest.
After her principal specifically encouraged her effort and perseverance, despite her having limited use of her hands. Effort matters, and being seen for it makes all the difference.
The sources use that metaphor of closing a ladder to a slide. You need effort to climb the ladder.
And the higher you climb, the more effort, the bigger and more rewarding the slide, the reward.
Right. It helps frame struggles not as proof of being dumb, but as challenges that require effort to overcome. And that effort leads to growth.
And speaking of big challenges needing effort, look at this note. I wish for safety and security worldwide.
Wow. That's a wish that requires global effort, immense perseverance. It shows even young kids connect effort to tackling massive, important goals.
So sparking the conversation. Are there things you believe about yourself, perhaps based on past words or experiences, that might not actually be true? Who in your life inspires you to put in your best effort?
And how can we help normalize that everyone, including adults, has moments of self-doubt, crises of confidence? It's just part of the human experience.
Absolutely. And a big part of building that confidence, it seems, is through agency and choice, having the power to make decisions that matter in your own life.
Yeah, the source points out that often young people are given the illusion of choice, but not really meaningful choice.
Like a college syllabus, where everything's already decided. You can choose to take the class, but you have no say in how it runs.
Exactly. The example of students creating unique maps of Colorado when they were given real choice about how to present the information.
Versus just being assigned the same format.
It showed deeper engagement, deeper learning. When kids can connect a task to their own strengths and interests, they dive deeper. It makes sense.
But research also supports this idea, mentioned in the sources, that too much choice can actually be overwhelming.
Right. Giving, say, 7 books to choose from might result in less engagement than offering 2 or 3 curated, meaningful options. It's about the quality and significance of the choice, not just the quantity.
Now, obviously, there are moments where there's zero choice, usually for safety, like having to walk on the sidewalk next to busy traffic.
Of course. But even in those moments, the sources stress the importance of explaining the why.
You have to stay on the sidewalk here because the cars are moving very fast, and if you step into the crosswalk too early, you could get hurt.
Yes, explaining the reasoning transforms a command into a teaching moment about safety and consequences. It respects their intelligence.
And when it comes to offering meaningful choices, the sources reference self-determination theory, highlighting three aspects.
Right. Autonomy, the choice, needs to feel significant to them. Competence, they need to feel capable of making the choice. And relatedness, the choice somehow connects to their relationship with others or the group.
And this is where it gets challenging, maybe. Because, as Gretchen Brian-Meisels points out, young people are rarely seen as experts in their own lives.
That's a huge point. The sources argue that organizations, including schools, are significantly more effective, more relevant, when they truly integrate youth perspectives into decision-making processes, not just as tokens, but genuinely.
Ahmed El-Tayeb's experience in the Colorado Youth Congress, that's a fantastic example of real agency in action.
Isn't it? At just 16, he and other students didn't just complain about an issue lowering the voting age for school board elections. They researched it, developed a proposal.
And then lobbied state legislators. Testifying, sharing personal stories. That's real civic power being exercised by young people.
And the classroom exercise described, where students debated how to weight different grading components, homework, participation, tests. That's brilliant.
They had real power over their grades in that moment.
And they learned negotiation, compromise, the messy process of pragmatic decision-making. It was like a mini participatory democracy.
Project Voice EE, also mentioned, seems to exemplify this high level of youth engagement, training underrepresented young people to identify inequities, advocate for policy change.
Testifying at the legislature, partnering with schools and organizations, real impact.
The sources introduced this idea, the spectrum of public participation, showing different levels of engagement. And youth, they note, are typically only allowed to inform and consult.
Basically, tell us what you think and we might listen. The material really challenges adults to find ways for young people to participate at much higher levels on that spectrum. Collaboration, partnership, even youth-led initiatives.
And looking at these notes again, you see that potential for action and agency just bubbling up. I wish I can create an organization that donates supplies to school.
Or, I wish to make an impact on poverty by donating to charity or creating a charity. These aren't just passive hopes, they're ideas for tangible action.
Which leads us perfectly into the topic of passion. And the sources challenge the common idea that you just find your passion.
Right, suggesting instead that passion can be developed.
That's an interesting distinction.
It is. Referencing Hadi and Renninger's four-phase model of interest development, it starts with a triggered situational interest. Something just catches your eye, sparks curiosity. Then a maintained situational interest through meaningful tasks. This can grow into an emerging individual interest, and finally, a well-developed individual interest. That's where the young person is self-motivated, perseveres, even when things get hard.
Nathaniel McGillivary's story really illustrates this development, doesn't it? Feeling aimless until he followed a triggered interest in mechanics.
Found it was maintained through hands-on work at a career center, developed it into his life's work.
And now his developed passion leads him to volunteer, talking to kids about finding their own path. It comes full circle.
And Aidan Horowitz's story, another great example of developing passion leading to real impact. Her passion for animals, maybe triggered by seeing a dog in a shelter,
led her to create dogdont.org, helping people find compatible pets, preventing returns, saving animal lives. Incredible.
And Lilyborn, concerned her grandfather with Parkinson's, kept spilling hot drinks. Her interest in invention was triggered.
Developing that interest led her to invent the Spill Not cup holder. And that wasn't just like a school project.
No, it became a business, a crowdfunding success. She even presented at the White House.
Just amazing. And Abby Williams, living with cerebral palsy, taking her passion for fashion.
And developing it into modeling and advocating for inclusive fashion, changing perceptions, creating opportunities.
And Marley Dias, fueled by her frustration, which she calls frustration is fuel.
Yeah.
Love that.
Me too. Frustration with the lack of books featuring Black girls. She developed that energy into the hashtag 1000 Black Girl Books campaign.
Which just blew past its goal, created resources, databases, an app. And she's a published author now.
These stories, the sources show, demonstrate how helping young people pursue their developing passions can not only transform the world around them, but profoundly transform themselves, building resilience, confidence, a sense of purpose.
You see that seed of developing passion rooted in care or curiosity right there in the notes. I wish I could teach art to little people.
Or I wish when I grow up I want to help my grandpa get some medicine. I will have to be a scientist.
I wish I could make it so dogs can live forever. These aren't just dreams. They point to areas of deep interest, potential action.
And thinking about that care, that connection, let's circle back just for a moment to the profound power of words and encouragement, particularly from the adults in a young person's life.
Yeah, the sources are so clear that adult words carry significant weight, for good or ill. The story of Mr. Morris, that middle school teacher, really highlights this.
He'd felt devalued as a student himself, remember?
Right. So he intentionally created Family Time Friday in his classroom to build relationships, discuss things like equity.
And this created such trust that students not only wrote powerful essays, but they felt empowered enough to respectfully call him out on a gender bias he didn't even realize he had.
That's incredible. Creating a space where young people feel safe and valued enough to challenge an adult, and the adult is open to hearing it.
It speaks to this idea of molding assertiveness rather than stamping it out when young people speak up, even if they do it imperfectly at first.
Validating the person's right to speak while coaching the delivery.
Exactly. The source offers an example like telling a child who's being rude, "You are not a rude person. Notice how you sound. Let's work on how you say things so you aren't rude by accident."
So you're teaching communication skills, not silencing the child's voice or their underlying feeling. Ultimately, this whole deep dive, it started with the simple act of hearing young voices and their wishes.
And the sources bring us back to those wishes, reflecting on the incredible hope young people hold despite being really aware of the world's problems. That anecdote about releasing butterflies.
And shouting, "Release hope to the world," from 8-year-olds who already know suffering. It's just so poignant.
It is. Their wishes, like the notes show, they range from the deeply personal to these huge global aspirations. I wish that no bad things would happen in this world.
And I wish that people were all safe. I hope that one day everyone can live in peace. They see the challenges and they wish for solutions for a better world.
So, having taken this deep dive, we've seen from these sources how young people possess this just inherent power, adaptability, empathy, incredible passion.
We've explored how crucial belonging is, fairness, taking responsibility, having meaningful choices, putting in effort. All these are key in helping them realize their potential.
We've heard these amazing stories: Cassandra Lynn tackling recycling laws, Cameron Thompson transforming bullying into advocacy, Ahmed Al-Tayeb lobbying legislators at 16.
Marley Dias changing the publishing world, Lily Bourne inventing solutions to real-world problems. These are kids who are making a difference now, not waiting.
And the sources, they give us concrete, actionable strategies as adults, asking powerful questions, offering meaningful choices, encouraging effort rooted in belief.
Modeling vulnerability ourselves, providing specific feedback, helping young people recognize power structures.
And guiding them to take responsibility and make things right when they've caused harm. It's all practical stuff.
The overwhelming message, I think, from this material is that kids aren't just future leaders in training. They're already capable, motivated agents of change.
And this deep dive really highlights that so many caring adults are intuitively doing this vital work every day, nurturing these qualities, providing those opportunities, amplifying young voices. It's happening.
The sources leave us with such a powerful question to pose to a young person when they have an idea or see a problem they want to address. Why not you? Why not now?
Yeah, and here's where it gets really interesting, I think, for us to ponder. Considering everything we've explored about the inherent power and potential of young people when they are genuinely supported and empowered, what if the most profound, world-changing impact isn't actually something they eventually create down the line? What if it's the fundamental shift in how we adults see them, how we trust them, how we engage with them starting today? Maybe that's the biggest change waiting to happen.